OK, now transport workers are looking for an extra 10 days of an annual leave next year in recognition of their contribution during the COVID-19 pandemic. Joining me now to put forward their case is Dermot O'Leary, General Secretary of the NBRU. Dermot, you are very welcome to the Hard Shoulder.
Good afternoon, Sinead.
Now, good afternoon to you. Tell us a little bit about what you're looking for bus and rail workers.
Well, I suppose just a little bit of context, Sinead. We corresponded with CIE last night and copied the Taoiseach and the Minister of Transport in relation to the contribution that transport workers have been making throughout the pandemic from the very commencement of this crisis. And I suppose just to give people an understanding of what the claim is about, back last March, April, when the pandemic commenced or the virus hit this country, staff in the CIE Group of Companies, Dublin Bus, Rail and Bus Éireann, were asked to what we call burn off holidays. In other words, they were asked to reduce pressure on the payroll, because at that time the companies were unsure of what service level was going to be required by government, and indeed that the funding was going to be forthcoming from government to provide transport. So people were asked to burn off their annual leave a lot earlier than what they would have done. And in actual fact, from the perspective of my members, they would have wasted that leave at that time. So that would have amounted to 10 days leave. And that's the context for the claim.
Right. Now, when you say burned off, because I know that phrase was in your letter, does that mean they went without 10 days holidays, or they just had to take it?
No, on the contrary. Not unlike a lot of people in society, and again, I represent transport workers, and I'm sure people will understand that my focus is on transport workers. Whilst I might have sympathies for other people in the economy, I have to represent who I have to represent. But in terms of the holidays, normally when people take holidays, they do it for a reason. Not least to go off to sunny climes. Those were the days. We won't have them for a long time yet, or go on staycation. That didn't happen last year. People were just asked to take those holidays to facilitate the companies and the pressure on the payroll at the time. So They weren't able to enjoy their annual leave in the way they would have been used to enjoying their annual leave.
Well, sure, Dermot, none of us got to enjoy our annual leave. I mean, there's several places in the world that I can think I'd have loved to have been with my holidays, and I just had to take the days off and sit at home and do my 5k walks and look at the four walls like everybody else.
Well,
why are bus drivers different?
Well, I'm assuming you're self-employed, Sinead, but I happen to represent people who are members of my trade union. So they at least have me to spearhead any claim they have, and this is what I'm doing. I would have explained to people throughout the day that there are people in the health sector, for example, and we're not trying to equate transport workers with health workers. They're doing a fantastic job, but it's worth bearing in mind that a lot of politicians and indeed media commentators, not least from the stable from where the show is coming from today, would be very fulsome in their praise over the last 12 months of transport workers as they ferried essential workers and again HSE workers to and from hospitals and other places of work. And that praise it really needs to be turned into a material recognition now of that contribution that was made. And it's one thing to be told to don the green jersey, but when it comes to asking for recognition of the work done, all of a sudden then it's a divide and conquer. So
well, I wonder though, is it? I know you're saying you're not equating yourself to the frontline workers like nurses, and I hope that people wouldn't try to do that. But it seems to me that for a lot of the time during COVID, and especially now under level 5 lockdown, in fact there are fewer bus and train services, emptier buses and trains, fewer journeys, and actually less work to do for your members.
Well, I don't know, less work to do now. Again, I didn't realise that you were an expert on bus driving or how people operate trains, but certainly in terms of the capacity of the transport services, that's dictated by the public health guidelines. But to be fair to transport workers, and we're lucky in this post in the sense, we're not talking here about what happened in London, for example, where lots of transport workers died having contracted COVID-19. So in terms of the role fulfilled by transport workers across all the services, they've done a job they were asked to do by government. They operate within the public health guidelines, and as I said already, they provided those services for essential workers. And again, it's worth noting, Sinead, that the publicly owned companies where we represent most of our members' work provided services, and when other people in the private sector of transport ran no services up in such time as you and I as taxpayers paid them a few quid some months back, and now they got their services back up again. So I'm not here to apologise for putting in a claim for my members. I will continue to represent them. I've always done that. and I will do it the day I retire or they have enough of me.
Indeed. Now, listen, Dermot, there were calls from nurses and nurses' unions also looking for annual leave. And I think that maybe some people may be more sympathetic to that, or paying them extra money or whatever, given that they were really in the front line of danger every single day. I mean, did they steal a march on you with this demand?
God help us the day that a trade union would knock another trade union for doing something decent for their members. No, the INMO have been out a long time back, as have other health unions across Europe, in fact, Sinead. Certainly in countries where social democratic governments dominate, and not least France, where people in the front line and across a myriad of services have claims in to their governments, and some are being met already. So I'd be very, very supportive, and was in the last nurses' strike, of all my trade union colleagues, especially those that work in public services, because without public services, and I think the pandemic demonstrated this, without public service, we'd all be floundering, and we wouldn't know where we'd be at this stage.